Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, where everything you're about to hear and see has been done in one take. I'm your host, the One Take Man. My favorite racing game of all time, and potentially my favorite video game of all time, is Need for Speed Most Wanted. The sights, the ambiance, the racers and races and the various race modes, the various other NPCs and all of their interactions and presentations, the police pursuits. Holy crap, the police pursuits. There were just a lot of things about Most Wanted that came together and made it uh, an excellent game in all fairness, and therefore uh, a perennial high water mark for not just the series but also the genre as a whole. This video, however, isn't about Most Wanted, but rather about its ambitious yet underperforming sequel, Need for Speed Carbon. The basic idea of that game is that after having left Rockport, the city where Most Wanted takes place, the player character returns to Palmont, a city where he was a quite successful street racer in the past, and is persuaded to return to Palmont's street racing scene, which now is defined by various racing crews vying for control over various areas within the city. And you gain control over an area of the city by winning all or most races within that area. There is also a kind of a mystery angle that gets brought up, at least in the beginning of the game. However, that mystery angle doesn't really add anything to the story, and it makes it, and therefore leaves this story being not that much more complex than that of its predecessor, only with a bit more bloat. And unfortunately, that trend carries over on basically every aspect of Carbon. Except for the dynamics and responsiveness of the cars, which, to be fair, are marked improvements when compared to Most Wanted. Pretty much every aspect of Carbon either copies its predecessor without innovating or badly, and sometimes badly innovating. um, so I could understand that the people behind this game were under certain time crunches and therefore could not really create the best game they could have. But I choose to ignore that aspect, and instead I will present to you what I think the best possible version of Need for Speed Carbon would have been, given the initial story premise. And in order to do so, I am basing my ideas and observations on something that was mentioned in in the game's intro video. Namely, that the city is a battleground. That is the part I want to emphasize. I want to emphasize the conflict, the competition between, and not just between the player character and the various bosses, but also between all the crews against each other. And I think one way to do that would be I think one quite effective way to do so would be to expand a little bit on the mechanics of the crews and how precisely they are supposed to work. And I have a few suggestions for how that could be done. Number one, increase the number of racers you can hire for your crew. Keep in mind the end goal of the game is to conquer the entire city. So therefore, it makes sense to have a massive crew. Given that it is quite ridiculous that you would have a smaller crew than most of the main crews that you have defeated up until then, who not only were much larger, but they could only control one district of the city. And you, with your smaller crew, are controlling much more than that. That is while I like being flattered, that is very unlikely. Because, well, let's just say that my crew members really were as good as the game wants me to convince they are. Wants to convince me that they are. They would have done better for themselves already. At least at the point of the story where at least at the point where the story takes place. And also it allows you to be more. It makes you more capable of projecting your power and your influence over the entire city if you have a bigger crew. Number two, increase the number of challenges to your own territory. Like I said, the city is a battleground, which means that every area you end up winning, you also have to defend against a whole slew of various other crews. That that does come up in Need for Speed Carbon, but it doesn't come up nearly enough. I really think it should come much more often. Maybe not after every race, but after every few races, or after every, say, second area that you conquer, you should have to defend your territory. That really, I think that will add some more variety to the game, and it will also emphasize the actual competitive aspects, the actual competitive aspect of it, the actual struggle and endurance race necessary to achieve your goal. That being said, number three and four will seem kind of contradictory to each other, but I'll explain my motivations. Number three, allow the player to delegate, or give the player the option to delegate responding to various challenges to their crew members. After all, as I said, the end goal is conquering the city, and it makes more sense if you're not constantly going for small fry, but you're going after the big fish, and you have the rest of your much bigger crew than in the base game that can handle all the small fry. That would also make the player character more menacing in the universe, more of a serious threat to be considered. That being said, number four, manage your reputation. By that I mean, I think I would want for every racer character that you can recruit to your crew, including yourself, to have a reputation gauge, something that will tell you how willing they are to work not just with you, but also with your other crew members. You gain reputation by winning races, and you lose reputation by losing races. That's kind of simple. And if the imbalance between your reputation and the reputation of some crew member becomes too large, either the crew member's reputation is too low, or the crew member's reputation exceeds your own, then that particular crew member can either leave your crew and start their own, or challenge you for leadership of your own crew. Maybe even expel you if you lose. That I think will add another layer of competition and tension within the game's narrative. Because not only are you competing against other crews for control of the city, you're also competing within your crew in order to prove that you are indeed the one who's best suited to lead them. And number five, add races with sub-bosses, i.e. lieutenants of the leaders of the main crew. Again, this makes livens up the competitive scene present within the game, and it also adds for more character building options within the game. I also have two suggestions that I think will help expand the game, but that aren't really related to any crew mechanics, so to speak. The First of which is to have certain items or customization options only available at specific shops. That means that whatever territory or area happens to house that specific shop will become much more valuable and therefore will be claimed somewhat more often. That will add a little bit of a dimension to the actual conflict of the game. And finally, the last suggestion I want to make, the second of this part and the seventh overall, drop the mystery angle, or rather, if you want to still keep it in the game, it doesn't have to be as big of a part of the game as it actually is. You can still have, I don't know, Nikki trying to figure it out, give her something to do before she joins your crew. But the main story of this game should be about how the player character is overcoming these other crews and conquering the city. Nikki will eventually join you, but that's another story. And yeah, that was it. Those are my suggestions for how I would have improved Need for Speed Carbon. If any of that sounded like it would be enjoyable or interesting to you, then please leave a like and maybe even share this video wherever you think others will like it as well. If you have anything you'd like to add to anything I mentioned, the comment section awaits your input. And if you want to see when my next video, where I discuss a potential direct sequel to Carbon, gets released, well then please subscribe, and ideally also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. Until next time, I have been the One Take Man.